6:42, this is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Shall we take a look at today's front pages? The Times leads with Rishi Sunak's accusation that Penny Mordaunt and Liz Truss were being irresponsible and dishonest about tax cuts.
The Guardian says thousands of people could die as a result of extreme temperatures hitting the UK next week.
Daily Mail leads with Liz Truss's plan to offer a tax break of up to £2,500 to families.
For the Express, a picture of Boris Johnson and his message to the next Prime Minister: you must finish the job on Brexit.
And the Daily Star reports that global warming will lead to more great white sharks entering UK waters.
Yeah.
It's stunning, isn't it?
I'm not one for swimming in the sea, though.
No, well, I certainly wouldn't have to read in the Daily Star.
No. Let's go through the papers then with Kevin Schofield, political editor of HuffPost UK, and Nikki Hodson, the author and broadcaster. Good morning to you
Good
both.
morning. Good morning.
Let's talk about this heat wave, Kevin, should we? Because, I mean, it's actually getting pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, even, I think, if you're a sun worshipper, I think next week is going to test that to the limit. I mean, we're looking at 40 degrees, which is record-breaking for this country. And the Health Security Agency have issued a level 4 heat alert, first time ever, and there's a warning that thousands of people could die. And there's a really good quote, actually, in the story from Penny Endersby, who's the Met Office's chief executive, who's making the point that in this country, I think because we so rarely get weather like this, we tend to look at hot weather as like quite a nice thing.
Oh, chance to go to the beach.
To go out, play in the sun. She says, look, this is not that sort of weather. It's not go out and enjoy yourself in the middle of the day type of weather. It's you've got to take precautions, try and keep out the heat, keep yourself hydrated as much as possible, because it really, even fit and healthy people will struggle in this weather. It's not just the vulnerable. So
well, that's what they're saying. They're underlining that, aren't they?
Absolutely.
It's not just the vulnerable or the aged or whatever. It is, if you think you're young and fit and healthy and you like going out for a jog, don't.
No, definitely not. It's not the type of weather for that. And yeah, we're just not cut out in this country. I think obviously we've never had this type of weather before.
We're not used to it, I guess.
Some people are finding it hard to believe. Lindsay in Derby's been in touch. They got up at 6:15 this morning because I was chilly in bed. We haven't had extreme heat in Derby, but you will.
You will. It's going to get hotter, and it will go up to Derby. You only have to look at the map.
Nikki, looking at a pay rise in the FT, that's 5% pay offer for public sector workers.
Yeah, so obviously there's been so much talk about pay rises because of all the strikes that have been happening. Boris Johnson has finally pledged to offer a public sector pay rise of 5%, which will go to millions of people. But the problem is, it sounds like it's too little too late. At the end of the day, Boris Johnson and MPs voted to give themselves a 12% pay rise.
They didn't. No, they didn't.
They didn't?
They didn't, no. MPs do not vote on their own pay rises.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. They got a 12% pay rise. They got a 12% pay rise. They accepted a 12% pay rise. And that has kind of put a cat amongst the pigeons with everybody else. The problem, of course, is that inflation is still going to be more than 5%. It's going to be 11% by the autumn. So even with the 5% pay rise, people are still going to be feeling the pinch. And is it going to be, as I say, you know, too little too late to stop a new kind of swathe of strikes? That is the question. I mean, 5% sounds like it's better than nothing, but if it's not, if it's still going to make you feel poor, then people are still going to be discontent about it.
I thought Boris Johnson wasn't going to announce any particular policies in this period.
Yeah, but this is, it just so happens that it coincides with his working his notice period that this has got to be done. It's the peer review bodies are making the recommendations, and generally speaking, the government goes along with what they're saying. So these recommendations are coming out, and yeah, I mean, 5% in a normal year would be good.
Probably,
but clearly, we're not in a normal period, and that is still way short of the current rate of inflation. So you can understand, I think, why public sector should be.
Inflation isn't good. Well, it's trying to look on the positive side of this, but inflation is not hopefully going to stay at 11% forever in a day.
Well, it's not. But the problem is people have been feeling so poor for so long now, you know, after the pandemic, after Brexit. It's this knock-on effect of, and also the fact that people haven't had pay rises, you know, wages have been stagnant for a decade. It's all those little things combined that are making it feel that 5% isn't enough now.
Yeah.
OK, shall we get on to the Tories then, Kevin? And it's interesting, on the front page, again, of the... Of the Eye, saying that Tories are very worried there will be lasting damage from this leadership contest because it's turning nasty.
Yeah, and I suppose in a way it was always bound to, and leadership contests is not just a Conservative thing, Labour as well. They obviously shine a light on internal battles about policy and ideology that are normally behind closed doors, but because of the very public nature of a leadership contest, they're all out in the open. And it is getting particularly nasty because the way that the rules work, the number of candidates gets whittled down to a final two, who then get voted on by the members. And the way it's looking at the moment is that Rishi Sunak will probably almost certainly be one of them. So it's a question of who will he go up against and who will stop. Now,
what do you think of the debate last night? I mean, is there any point having a TV debate?
Oh, no, I was just speaking to someone earlier about that. It seems a bit odd at the moment because the only people that can vote right now are Tory MPs, so there's about 360 of them. So it felt to me like a lot of rigmarole for basically for a tiny electorate of 360 people. I think it'll be more interesting come Tuesday night when there's another debate, I think on a rival channel who I won't mention, but by that stage there'll probably be maybe only 2 or 3, so that'll be a lot more interesting. But right now, obviously 5 of them, probably 1 or 2 will be gone Monday.
What did you think of the point-blank question, do you think Boris Johnson is an honest person? Well, I mean, would you, if you'd been a candidate on that platform, would you have answered that question?
No, well, how on earth do you answer it? Especially if it's somebody that you've served effectively, you know. I mean, I think it's a cheeky question because they're not obviously going to answer honestly, I don't think, in that situation. But if they say no, then that's obviously to meet their own ends. So, you know, I kind of think it's a bit facile, to be honest.
I thought it was just a gotcha question.
Yeah, totally.
It is,
They get a line of some sort.
It is. I suppose most normal people, probably Boris Johnson's one of the few politicians that they've probably ever heard of. So I suppose in terms of television, it's quite interesting because people will have their own. Everyone's got an opinion on Boris Johnson after all the controversies of the last couple of years. So I can understand that. What is interesting is that how many of them, I think the only one that gave an absolutely straight answer was Tom Tugendhat, who said no. But of course, he didn't work for Boris Johnson, so it was quite easy. It was a bit of a free hit for him.
It was free, but it didn't make him look good.
No,
I don't think at all.
Although it got a bit of a round of applause. Yeah, I think it just shows again that Boris Johnson, although he's on his way out, he still is a big figure in the Conservative Party. And I think a lot of his supporters, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of his supporters detest Rishi Sunak. They blame Rishi Sunak for his demise, and they want anyone but Rishi, basically.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of that. Anyone but Rishi.
Yeah, we
That's
are.
interesting. Tell you the other question that I thought was, I was listening to the hustings last night, which only went out to Conservative Home, and I was listening to that while I was gardening yesterday. And one of the questions they were all asked is, what would you say is your greatest failing?
Oh.
I
Yes.
know. It's one of those questions when you're asked when you're being interviewed for university or something.
Oh,
How do you ever answer that?
I'm too humble.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
If anything, I work too hard.
Rishi said he was probably too much of a perfectionist.
Yes, classic answer.
terrible.
It was sickening, but I did love Penny Mordaunt's answer, which was that she had 4 Burmese cats and she wasn't sure how they would get on with Larry if she did move into Downing Street. I thought that was the right way to answer it. Yeah, definitely.
Look, we're out of time for this bit, Kevin and Nikki, but we'll see you both a little bit later on. Thank you.